again. It was an exciting win on Saturday, and welcome to the Verbo Fiesta Bowl once again.
Well, we appreciate it. Obviously, excited to represent the Big Ten and Penn State University in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Real briefly, I would love to give a shout out to Coach Katie and our women's volleyball team. Just won the national championship. Phenomenal for a lot of different reasons, the success that they had this year. So I wanted to give them a quick shout out. But we are honored to be here and representing the Big Ten and playing a tremendous opponent like Boise. Got a ton of respect from that university and that football program. They've really been an exciting team and an exciting program for a long time. A lot of history there, a lot of exciting games that I've been able to watch. Obviously, Coach Danielson's done a great job in year one, being promoted from within, former defensive coordinator, and has done a great job, has done a really, really good job understanding that team, understanding what they need to do to be successful. Obviously, we have a common opponent in Oregon, and they played them extremely well in their one loss, 37-34. But this is going to be an exciting game and a tremendous challenge. Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator, is kind of a legend in the business. Everybody knows Coach Cutter and what he's been able to do. That'll be a real challenge for us. It was, I think, a brilliant move bringing him back. He's from Pocatello, Idaho. I spent a year in Pocatello, Idaho at Idaho State.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing
not if you're Ohio State, though.
I'm guessing
Hey,
there's some
guys, please mute. Again, once again, if you are on the line, please mute your lines. Thank you. Sorry, Coach.
I guess they're not fans of Idaho State, I guess. But then obviously on defense, in Coach Chinander, defensive coordinator, again, got a great background and got a great history as well. And obviously Coach Danielson's very involved in that as well. Then Stacy Collins, their special teams coordinator, was on our staff here at Penn State, so he knows us well. And we know him as well. And, he's done a really good job. He was at Boise when we hired him and then returned back there, getting back to the West Coast. So real good opportunity, exciting. We're looking forward to getting there, and we've had great experiences there in the past, and we're looking forward to the opportunity. So open up the questions.
Thank you, Coach. First up, we'll go to Rich Scarcella. Rich, you're up for Coach.
He's muted, guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Hey, Rich.
Thank you, Scott, and Merry Christmas to all of you, James, Scott. What are your initial impressions of the Boise backfield, particularly the quarterback and the running back?
Yeah, obviously it all starts and revolves around Genty. In any other year, I think the guy wins the Heisman, and you could make the argument that he should have won it this year. He is hard to tackle. He is compact, 5'10", has the ability to run away from you, has the ability to make you miss. They get him involved in the pass game. They get him involved in the run game. And then the quarterback is athletic as well. He reminds me a little bit of the quarterback that we faced from West Virginia that we had a ton of respect for on tape when we played them. But, they're a problem. And, but I think it starts and ends with the running back. And I think they do a really good job of not only getting him the ball in the run game, but also in the pass game, but then also using him in play action pass to create some opportunities to get some explosive plays down the field in the passing game. So it'll be a definite challenge for us. But they're kind of a two-headed monster, both athletic guys. Not both of them aren't the biggest guys in the world, but are really good, productive football players that have done it week in and week out against everybody.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to Johnny McGonigal from Penn Live. Johnny?
James, thanks for your time. Much appreciated.
You too.
How would you assess the play of Abdul against SMU and what he offers your defense moving forward? I know we've asked you a bunch about him this year, but he really stood out in that first playoff game.
Yeah, just obviously very disruptive, like he's been all year long. I also think if you went back and did a study, the amount of holding calls that he is that have been called against him, I think is probably up there as high as anywhere in the country, but also holding calls that could have been called. He is just a problem, and he's an issue in the run game as well as the pass game with tackles for loss, sacks. Just like, we're spending time talking about their running back, they're spending time talking about our defensive end and playmaker Abdul Carter. So that'll be an interesting matchup, and that'll be an interesting chess game with both coaches, but with both coaching staffs and how we use those guys so that they both can be as effective as possible in this game.
Thank you, Coach. Audrey Snyder. Audrey, you're up.
Hey, James, Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about Ashton Genty. You mentioned, probably would have been the Heisman winner any year, except for this one. Is there any back that he kind of compares you to, or that you'd compare him to throughout your coaching career, or any kind of guys that you think maybe are a little bit similar running style?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. When you look at his stature, you're thinking about certain backs, but I don't know if I have somebody that jumps out in my mind that he reminds me of when I'm watching him on tape. Because really he does a lot of things really well. He can run away from you and score from a distance, breaks a ton of tackles, like his yards after contact. I think I saw or read it somewhere, like 1,300 yards of his rushing yards are after contact, which is like a ridiculous stat. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but his ability to make people miss, break tackles, finish runs, is really impressive. But I don't know if I got somebody that jumps out in my mind in terms of he reminds me of this guy. But the thing that jumps out the most to me is 1,300 yards or whatever that statistic is after contact is a crazy stat, in college football.
Thanks, Coach. Seth Engel from statecollege.com. Seth?
Hey, James, thanks for the time today. Just in terms of this week, balancing transfer recruiting with practice and also the holiday, what exactly does this week kind of look like for you and the team?
Yeah, so we practiced yesterday, kind of our normal Sunday practice, and then tried to help everybody get out of town. So we went early. I say normal, not normal, because we went early in the morning so guys could get out of here. Coaches worked a full day, but tried to get the guys out of here so they could drive wherever they were going. Then they'll have off until Christmas Day evening. I want to make sure I term that the right way. We'll have a team meeting and practice that evening. So it's a little bit of time off for everybody. The coaches, we worked early this morning until this afternoon. Everybody's heading out of the office now, get a couple hours of Christmas shopping, then be able to spend time with their family. And then after that, after Christmas Day around 5 o'clock, we're getting into our normal game week. So for us, we always take whenever the game is and count back 7 days, and that's our normal game week. And we try to stick to that routine as much as we possibly can. It's been good to us, and our players and coaches believe in it. So, after that, we're kind of back to, things as normal, except obviously we don't have school and those things.
Thanks, Coach. Devin Jackson, Philly Inquirer.
Hey James, thanks for hopping on here. Happy holidays.
You as well.
Wanted to ask, obviously earlier this year you got to go cross country to USC. How do you kind of take that experience as you get ready to head to Phoenix, and what did you learn from that experience that you can apply here?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. We spent a lot of time studying different NFL teams, different college teams that had West Coast trips, and what they did, how they did it. So we felt like we had a good plan going to USC. And feedback after the game, from the players, from the staff, we thought we did the right thing. If you look at win records of teams traveling in the regular season, cross country is not great in really in either direction, but specifically East Coast teams heading west. But this is obviously different because it's not like a in-season game. It's also not like a traditional bowl with the amount of time that we're out there, but still enough time that we're able to get adjusted and get some work out there and get acclimated. So we feel good about it. We have a sports scientist on staff, and really tap into that resource as much as we can as well. But the combination of being able to go out and play well against USC, learn from that experience, and now travel to the West Coast again for this first round of the playoffs. I think there's value in us already doing that one time this year.
Thanks. Mark Woganrich, you're up.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, James. Excuse me. Merry Christmas to everybody there. After Saturday's game, you said, I'm at a point in my career where it's all about the players. Where are you at in your career now at this point going into the playoff? And has that arc changed over the last few years?
Say that one more time, Mark. I'm sorry.
After the game, you said, I'm at a point in my career where it's all about the players. So I wanted to gauge, where do you think you're at in your career, on your career arc, and what makes it all about the players now?
Yeah, I guess what I meant by that, Mark, is first of all, it's always been about the players, but I think when you kind of get a little bit more seasoned in this profession, when you're younger, you're focused on all different types of things, right? When you're a young offensive coordinator, you're worried about points, and you're worried about yards, and you're worried about turnover ratio and explosive plays, and all those things are still important and they matter. But I think the older you get, you try to keep the main thing. And at the end of the day, it boils down to our players having a tremendous experience while they're here at Penn State. And a part of that obviously is winning as many games as possible. And then also developing them as young men and as students. And then also trying to put as many of them in a position to chase their dream in the NFL as well. So it's for me, it just, the older you get, you kind of get rid of all those other things like stats and, again, yards and stats and points and things like that. And it just really comes down to the players. It comes down to the relationships. It comes down to the staff. It comes down to the staff relationships and development. So it's more just about keeping the main thing. I think you guys know I've always been a relational leader. That's what has always kind of driven me in this profession, and it's been my leadership style. but there was still probably some time and energy focused on other things. And now I just try to keep the main thing, which is my family at home and my family at work.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to Bob Beeler from the Bronco Radio Network and a former resident of Central Pennsylvania.
Hey, Bob.
Coach, good to speak with you this morning. Congratulations on the win. Your running backs look like they have almost identical stat lines. So could you tell me a little bit about both of them, what maybe makes each of them unique?
Well, we first of all, that's intentional. We try to keep those guys fresh, and we try to keep those guys healthy, not only for their careers here at Penn State, but afterwards as well. They're really close friends. They're really good complementary pieces. I know the expression is probably overused, but thunder and lightning, I think is a good expression or a good description for those guys. Nick has the ability to go the distance, with his speed and explosive ability. Katron, we call him Fat Man. Katron, he is a violent, physical runner. I think they both have aspects of that as well, but Katron is extremely physical. They're both smart, high football IQ guys. I think Nick is trying to kind of get on an edge and beat you with speed. Fat Man will try to run you over more times than not. But they've both been productive. We've been able to rotate both of them. There was some times during the season where both of them were banged up at certain points, but these last couple of weeks, they've been as healthy as they've been all year long. And I think it's showed up that way on film and statistically the last 2 weeks. So both been great teammates and great students and are thriving here. So it's really kind of how we would like to do it. I think there's times where both of them would like to just, get a few more touches and be the feature back. But I think they also struggle with that. They also understand this is probably in their best interest and our best interest as well, the way we do it.
Thanks, Coach. Andrew Clay from Nittany Nation. You're up for
Andrew.
Coach. Oh,
there we go. Hey, Coach, you mentioned Christmas shopping. Do you do any of your own Christmas shopping? And my actual question is, how much do you talk about and try to teach the players about your history in the Fiesta Bowl? I mean, I think it was the 1987 game was 1 versus 2 in one of the greatest bowl games, I think, in the history of college football. Do you try to teach and learn about that and educate the players about one of the roots of Penn State football in this case?
Hey, Scott, is there a way when they're talking that they could be on camera?
yeah, he was on camera and went right off when we called on him. So, Andrew, I don't know if you can pop yourself back up, please.
It says my video is on. Is my video off?
It did. It was just on, and then it went off right when you asked the question.
Yeah, no big deal. I'll answer the question either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't get in a whole lot of the history of these games because I don't think I don't necessarily feel like that the time is worth taking it away from preparing the specific opponent that we have this year, which is Boise. Our guys are very aware of our history here at Penn State, and we spend a lot of time kind of in the off season talking about those things, or different former players coming back, lettermen to talk to our guys or guys on our current staff. So we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about, those types of things, the history or the tradition or how many times we've played in this game. Just all of our energy and focus is this team playing this opponent, in this second round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals. So that's really our focus.
Thanks, guys. Mark Brennan, you're up.
Hey,
Hey,
Mark.
James and Scott, thanks for your time.
You too, buddy.
James, Andy, after the game the other day, talked about the importance of playing to win as opposed to playing not to lose. Can you talk about the importance of that philosophy to you, especially at this time of year when it's win or go home?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about that a lot as players with the players. We've talked about that a lot with the staff in terms of how we call the game, how we prepare for the game, how we game plan, players being aggressive, playing on their toes, not on their heels, making aggressive calls, instead of going for the PBU, go for the interception. I think some of the calls that we have made going forward on fourth down, those types of things, we want to be as aggressive as we possibly can. That's if we got a play action pass or a shot play or a trick play on offense, we want to use those, whether it's defensively. You saw us a bunch in cover zero and going after the defense, going after the offense. We want to be very aggressive. We don't want to have any regrets. And playing to win, I think, is a mentality that everybody has to embrace and be on the same page with, because there's going to be times where the defense is going to have the offense's back. After making one of those decisions, there's going to be times where the offense is going to have the defense's back after making one of those decisions. And the same thing with special teams. And everybody's got to buy into that philosophy and embrace that philosophy. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think the biggest thing, Mark, to your point, is just no regrets. We don't want to, sit in the locker room after the game or woulda, shoulda, coulda. Want to be aggressive. And more times than not this year, those things have helped us. There's been a few times where it hasn't worked out. And there's also been a few times where it hasn't worked out, but the other side of the ball has had the other side, the offense, defense, or special teams backs and made the decision right. Like what happened on Saturday. We go for it on 4th and 1. We fumble the snap, don't get the first down on the quarterback sneak, and then our defense comes in and holds them to no points on our end of the field. So it's those types of things and those types of decisions.
Thanks, guys. We'll go to John Wustrow from the Idaho Press. John?
Hey, John.
Hey, James. I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot from local media, but I'll ask you again. Tyler Warren, you use him in a number of different ways. Just how special does an athlete have to be that versatile?
Hey, John, before Coach goes, do you mind just raising your hand once again so your camera pops up on the screen?
Yeah, sorry.
All good.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
There you are.
Yeah.
John, your beard game is strong, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Tyler Warren, obviously he's a unique guy. Everybody talks about obviously his production as a receiver and as a runner, but it's also as a blocker. He had some phenomenal blocks on Saturday. It helps that he's 6'6". He's essentially 260 pounds. He's able to block you like a traditional inline tight end or from the hip position. He's smart enough to line up at the number 1 receiver, the number 2 receiver, the number 3 receiver, in the backfield as a fullback or H-back, however you want to describe it. He's able to line up and play the quarterback position, take snaps under center as well from the gun. He's able to throw the ball. He's a former quarterback. So there's just a lot of different ways that we like to use him, and also which makes him difficult to defend, because as a defensive coordinator, you don't know where he's going to line up. If the threat always lines up in the slot or always lines up, in a 3-by-1 to the single side, if you always know where the receiver or the threat lines up, it makes it easier to defend the guy. But when he can line up really anywhere on the field, it makes it very challenging. And his football IQ, as well as his background in playing multiple sports, high-level baseball, high-level basketball, high-level football player in high school, And then on top of that, the fact that he played quarterback just gives us the flexibility to use him in a ton of different ways. We've done a lot of these things over his career, but with him being kind of the focal point at our tight end position this year, last year, he shared that role with a tight end who got drafted in the second round by the Giants. This year, he's doing that, as kind of the leader of the tight end room, but also one of the focal points of our offense. His physical skills, his athletic skills, and then also his intelligence allows us to use him in a ton of different ways and combine all those things we've done throughout his career and just do it all in 1 year and really sometimes all in one game.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to Shane Thomas. Shane, you're up for Coach.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Coach, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. Your beard game strong too.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Coach, you talked about calling the game more aggressively on the defensive side, and it seemed like you guys really overwhelmed SMU with that. How much of calling the game aggressively kind of contributed to maybe like physical advantages that you saw, and how well do you feel like you guys were able to do that?
Yeah, I think that was a part of it. I also thought the crowd and the crowd noise played a factor in that as well. Our home field advantage and our crowd was significant in that game, and we don't take that for granted. So that was big time for us. But yeah, when you're able to line up and cover zero and bring pressure like that and bring it from different places, the offense has to decide who they want to block. They can't block them all. The quarterback has got to get everybody on the same page and get rid of the ball. And then the real challenge is we have the ability to line up like that and drop out and play zone. And now you have a chance to get somebody running free in protection because they haven't identified it correctly. And now you're playing zone coverage behind it, and you're forced to hold on to the ball till someone is open. So, that creates some real challenges and stress on the defense. And that's really what we're trying to do on the defensive side of the ball is create mistakes, cause pressure, and really put the quarterback in a challenging position as many times as possible. Obviously, this week is a little bit different challenge. Well, not little, a very different challenge. And it's all about stopping their running back, and then all of the plays and schemes that come off of that complement the running game and complement the running back.
Thanks, Coach. Daniel Gallen from Lines 247.
Hey, Daniel.
How are you doing today, James?
Good, Daniel. Your mustache game is strong too, just so you know.
I appreciate that, James.
I didn't want to skip you.
Just to tie up a couple loose ends from Saturday. I was wondering, how much did the conditions on the field in terms of wind, cold, affect your offensive game plan? And then also with that 4th and 13 earlier in the game, where you elected to go for it, was that just a result of the weather conditions and, I guess what Barker had looked like during warmups in the kicking game?
Yeah, I think the conditions affected both teams and both offenses, specifically going in the direction of our tunnel. If you look, I think their guy missed a short field goal as well. When I say short field goal, a field goal that more times than not you'd have the leg for. But yeah, going in that direction affected us on offense. That's why we went for it on 4th and 13. We did not feel comfortable kicking in that direction based on the weather, specifically the wind. I think for both offenses, the cold weather had a little bit of an impact, but I think more so the combination of the wind, with that as well, had a factor in the game. So I think it really impacted how both coaches tried to manage the game. It impacted how both offenses had to manage the game. It also impacted special teams. That's one of the reasons why I was so disappointed. We decided we had a choice, right? So to start the second half, do we want to take the ball and the wind, or did we want the ball or did we want the wind in the fourth quarter? So, we decided to take the wind in the third quarter, try to put the game away in the third quarter, and then run the ball in the fourth quarter and run the game out was our plan. That's why I was so disappointed when we kicked the line drive, and they got a really good return where our thought was we were going to be able to kick them deep, either kick it out of the end zone, pin them deep, have them put them in a situation backed up out of their own end zone, or at least the 25-yard line, and have to go into the wind, hopefully get a 3-and-out or a turnover, get our offense the ball back in really good field position, and then really be able to take over the game in the third quarter. So that was a little bit disappointing, but yeah, all those things factored into decision making and game management. Scott, you're muted, Scott.
I am. Sorry about that. Avery Hill, you're up from the Philly Inquirer. Avery.
Hey, Avery.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man.
I just want to ask about Devon. Obviously, we kind of talked about him a lot, but just one, like, what is his impact, and especially like as a leader, how important is it to have a guy like Devon, down the stretch?
Yeah, his leadership has been phenomenal. I'm really proud of Devon. His development, both on and off the field, has been phenomenal. I tell the guys all the time, like, Devon could teach a master's class on how to get the most out of your college experience, and specifically at Penn State. He's like the mayor of State College. He knows everybody in the community, he knows everybody on campus. We do a guest coach program where we have professors and donors come and be a part of our game experience and travel with us. And all of them come back to me afterwards and just talk about Devon and how he's handled himself. Same thing with our athletic director and the administration. If there's an opportunity for Devon to shake hands and meet people and build relationships, he's going to do it. He's extremely articulate in speaking to our team. Tremendous messages. He's also very comfortable communicating with me things that I need to hear from a player's perspective as well. And then he's been a dominant player for us as a defensive tackle inside, able to hold the point, is very physical, has got the movement skills, and we like to move our defensive line and get those guys, moving and disruptive against offensive lines. He's able to do those things as well. He's playing his best football right now. He's going to have a chance at the next level too. So, I think just like baseball, you try to build your football team where you want to be strong up the middle. And when you're able to have, Devon and Zane at D tackle and Kobe, at middle linebacker, and then obviously Zachy and Jalen Reed at safeties, you feel really good about, the middle of your defense and building from there.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to BJ Rains from the Bronco Nation News up in Boise.
Hey, BJ.
Hey, Coach. Hey, two-parter for you. You mentioned your running backs kind of splitting action a little bit. I'm curious how much more impressive that makes what Ashton Jeanty is doing, 30-plus carries in 7 of the last 8 games, and just the workload, and if you can touch on that. And then also in your opening statement, you mentioned the history of Boise State, and I'm just curious if you could touch on that and your memories of those, the 07 Fiesta Bowl, and just your thoughts on their rise as a program, not even 30 years as an FBS program, and they're obviously reaching another step in their program, making the playoff here.
Well, yeah, in terms of the running back, I mean, he's a beast. He's a beast in terms of his production on the field, but then also his durability from the interviews that I've seen. He's also a guy that kind of understands how to be a pro already at this point in terms of taking care of his body, rest and recovery and treatment, and doing all the things necessary. I also think the way he's built and his running style helps with that as well. There's not too many people are able to get clean shots on him. So, all of it is super impressive, but I think this stat that I mentioned earlier, the most impressive stat is the yards after contact. He's got more yards after contact than most of the elite backs in college football have in general, overall. So that's impressive. I spent some time in Idaho. I was at Idaho State. So spent some time in Boise and other places. Actually played in Boise. When I was at the University of Maryland, we played Nevada in the bowl game there. Had a great experience there. Loved the city. Loved the university. It's beautiful. Had a great experience. I think the biggest compliment that I would give Boise is people in the coaching profession. You say to yourself, well, why are places good jobs and why are places, bad jobs? Why are some places struggle over their time and why do some places always thrive? And, obviously Coach Danielson's done a phenomenal job, but when you look at Boise's history, there's been a ton of coaches go there and have success all the way back to when they were in the FCS, winning the national championship. There's just, there's typically ingredients in universities that have allowed them to be successful. And it's in the university, it's in the community, it's embedded there. And that's why you've seen so many people be able to go there and have success. That's why, I think you heard earlier this year, Coach Saban talking on game day about some other places. And, people want to blame the coach. Well, there's been 4 coaches at this school. There's been 5 coaches, and none of those coaches have been successful. So maybe it's not just the coach. Maybe there's other things at the school that's not allowing the coach to be successful. Just like at Boise, there's been a recipe for success there. The administration, in my opinion, must get it. The town must get it. The university, all the way from the president of the university to the professors, all the way down to the students, they all get it. And to me, that's why places like Boise, in my opinion, have thrived. And the people that I know have worked there, they enjoy working there. They're treated in a first-class manner. The town loves it. They always get great crowds and great support. I thought the blue turf was something that differentiated them at a time that, let's be honest, it's hard to find ways to differentiate yourself in college football now. And that was something that also made them unique and interesting. And then what Coach Peterson was able to do there, obviously he took the program to a whole nother level and build it in such a way that other people could go in and continue building, on what he did, where some people, I know Coach Peterson very well, the guy's phenomenal and, is got humility, and he wanted Boise to continue to be successful after he left. And some of these coaches, they don't want that. They want to be the reason why. So I got a ton of respect for Boise, the university, the history, the traditions. We're excited to play them. They've played in these games before and played well, like the games you've mentioned against big time historical opponents. So we know that, we need to be ready for this team, for their athletes, and just the way the university's won at a high level for a long time. So I hope this shows you that Boise has our attention and has our respect.
Great, thank you, guys. And we'll close out with a hometown question from Jordan Spurgeon from Sports 360 here in Arizona. Jordan, you're up for coach.
Hey, Jordan.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Hey, James. Merry Christmas. Thanks for the time. Wanted to ask you too, obviously football is what you're here for, but as someone who's been here, 2017 was the last time you guys played here. What are some other things you're looking forward to at the Fiesta Bowl, whether it's events, whether it's restaurants to hit up in the Phoenix area? What else are you looking forward to out here?
Well, as you guys know, it's a phenomenal town, but this is a business trip for us. It's not like we're going to be, it's, as you guys know, this isn't like the normal bowl games anymore. This is the playoffs and the second round of the playoffs, and we're still obviously under the bowl umbrella and very appreciative of the Fiesta Bowl. But this isn't like, when we would come there and go on trips and do different activities. We're there to play a game. It's similar. My first game ever at Penn State was in Dublin, Ireland against Central Florida. And everybody was talking about it being a cultural experience going to Dublin, Ireland. It was for everybody else. For us, it was a business trip and a game. And I know the Fiesta Bowl is going to, do some phenomenal things and treat us in a first-class manner, because that's just how they operate and that's what they do. But for us, this is about, coming out there and getting our team ready to play a really good Boise team and represent the Big Ten and represent Penn State University and our alumni and our lettermen and our entire community the right way. So, it's not like we'll be out shopping or going to restaurants. We'll enjoy the weather. I'll tell you that. From what I understand, it's about 70 degrees. So I think today in State College, it's about 72 degrees. So, we'll appreciate it. It'll be a little bit cooler there with you guys. So we'll appreciate the weather.
Thanks, James. And having been there this weekend, the weather is about 50 to 60 degrees difference here. But
come on, Scott. Let me just kind of run with that a little bit.
All right, we got you, Coach. Well, thank you, Coach, for your time this morning. Really appreciate it in the midst of your preparations. Congratulations on your first round win. And we are excited to have Penn State here for the first ever college football playoff quarterfinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Scott, one last thing.
Yes, sir.
Scott, where'd you go to college?
I went to Ithaca College in upstate New York, but I did work at a Division II school in Pennsylvania called Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Bloomsburg got whooped by East Stroudsburg this year, just so you know.
Well, I don't know that we want to open this can of worms, Coach, in front of everybody, but I do remember the year I worked there.
Scott, we don't have any more time. We don't have any more time, Scott. Got to cut this off.
Sounds great. Well, thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here this morning.